Gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you for this round table and for opportunity to learn your opinion concerning digital pathology. Why we choose topic of this topic for our discussion, because it's new trend and that's a new opportunity which can change our diagnostic landscape. And would be interesting to know your opinion, how you use it, how you can use in your daily practice, and if you use it at all. First of all, I'd like to introduce my colleagues. Jeyson Hornik, professor of pathology, Harvard Medical School, director of surgical pathology and immunohistochemistry. Nilsen Petour, professor of pathology, Harvard Medical School, pathologist of Massachusetts General Hospital. Dmitry Konovalov, head of pathology department of National Medical Scientific Center of Pediatric Hematology, Oncology and Immunology. My name is Vladimir Cimberg. I'm a CEO and founder of BioVitrum company. We involved in the development and integration of digital pathology technologies in Russia. First question I'd like to offer, Jeyson, to you. What do you think, how digital pathology technology can transfer modern diagnostic landscape, and how you see it changes now and how it can change in future?
I think that the first integration of digital pathology into our system has been in the field of education. It's a very easy means of sharing whole slides where students, trainees can review the cases online very easily. We've been using it for many of our national academic meetings as a way to do case review. We're doing it internally in our department for our trainees, for the residents and fellows. That's been its first application. I think in the second phase, in terms of diagnostic pathology, its main role will probably be in consultation for an easy and direct way to get expert consultation by institutions that might not have specific areas of specialization or for long distances, like international consultation through a whole slide imaging digital pathology. We've begun using it for our tumor boards. That's another very straightforward application. And in some laboratories, although not in our own, it's being used for review of frozen sections. So intraoperative consultation through digital pathology, so that the pathologists do not have to come into the laboratory themselves. We can have assistants who are doing the sectioning and the scanning, and then the slides can be reviewed from afar, from offsite. So I see those as the main areas where it's really is changing clinical practice and education of pathology. I think for primary diagnosis, it's going to be a much slower process for it to be integrated because of the technology that needs to be acquired by departments, by the way that it's going to have to be transforming the laboratory structure and retraining a generation of pathologists who have not been using digital pathology as a means of diagnosis. I'm not sure how long it will take or in what ways it will be integrated, but I think that's much farther down the road.
Mm-hmm. Peter, some specialists say that one of the biggest limitation factor in digital pathology is regulations. Do you have some personal limitation due to regulations inside of hospital at national level, or what's your personal experience?
I don't have a personal experience. To be honest with you, I just know that the Philips scanner has been approved for use for diagnostic purposes, but beyond that, I do not know how the regulation work with regards to using scanned slides for diagnostic purposes. I do know, like Jason, I do get cases sent for consultation, usually from outside the country. They put them on the web and they give you a link to the slide and you look at it and you give your opinion. That's sort of that's the only way that I've been using slides for diagnostic purposes. But with regards to regulation, I just don't have enough knowledge. Maybe Jason or Dimitri have more knowledge about the rules and regulation about scanning slides.
But what do you think if legal infrastructure would be more transparent, it would be more accommodated to new trends and to use of digital pathology? Would it be help? Or still you don't see any limitations at this level?
I don't think that I think the biggest limitation for us, at least in the United States, has been the lack of approval for the devices and the systems for primary diagnosis. People have, both within an institution and sharing images between institutions where there might not be a formal relationship. People worry about patient privacy. So I think that if you're sharing the digital images that are essentially anonymized without any identifiable information, that's probably straightforward. But if you're sharing it with all of the protected health information of individuals, that is potentially a very large problem, at least in the United States, which I don't think we've really figured out how to deal with yet.
Dmitry?
I think that there are two quite different situations in Russia and the United States. I'm pretty sure that can work in Russia. You know, for example, that we have only 9 reference centers for whole specialties for whole country. When you have a possibility to consult your cases, spending not longer time and not too much money, of course you can do it with real slides. When you need a lot of time to transport your cases, when you have limited numbers of pathologists, it's a little bit difficult for me. I would prefer to use digital images. Yes, you absolutely agree. There are too many limitations in Russia. Now we are at the beginning of the way to officialize that type of consultations on a government level. And that is the main point, which blocked all the growth of that kind of pathology. When these questions set up, I think that it can work. In our situation, it can work. Of course, we have some experience. Our hospital was one of the first who started work with digital images. It's very useful for collection, systematization, education, informal consultation, but we're waiting for any official way to do it.
Dmitry, tell me about your experience, how you deploy digital pathology in Russia, because you are absolutely right, your hospital, probably first hospital which started to use it so massively, and probably you have most advanced experience in Russia.
When we started, there was a funny problem. We felt some inconvenience working with the screen. When you stop use my working instrument, I forgot the name, microscope. When you stop using microscope, it's a bit uncomfortable. But we survived that period quite fast. When you try to transmit your own experience to and other doctors, especially not from large cities. It can be difficult, and unfortunately not all would like to start to work with that technology. Yes, we have some experience, but this experience is also a bit limited by educational and archiving purposes. We try to use this as a working tool to get second opinion, especially in the cases when we don't have a correct specialist. I send a link and it really works. I cannot get official report, but I can get good description and a diagnosis. Agree, I can, if I trust, which I can use. That's really can be useful.
Jason, another very right now hot topic, artificial intelligence. What do you think? What impact it will have on pathology? What new challenges it will bring to our occupation?
I mean, most of the applications of artificial intelligence for digital pathology have been in the research sphere, pretty much up till now. But I think I don't have personal experience with dealing with AI for digital pathology, but I have some trainees and close colleagues who use it in their own research. And we have had discussions about where the test cases will be, where the first applications will be. And I think most people believe that there are some applications that will be of great value. One of the earliest applications will probably be searching for micrometastases in lymph nodes. In breast cancer, for example, and there's been beautiful papers showing how that can be a really assist device, as it were, as it is for diagnostic pathologists. So you can have the algorithms search for these tiny foci of cancer in a lymph node that are very difficult for humans to do and very time consuming, and then the humans we pathologists will confirm the localization of those cells by the algorithm. I think another application will be scanning prostate needle biopsies. I think that's a very easy to apply technology or application of artificial intelligence, looking for small areas of abnormality and then having the pathologist review the slides, focusing on the areas that the computer algorithm has identified. So I think those are two.
Screening.
Yes, as screening tools, not to replace diagnosis, but to save time and to really assist the pathologist to use their time more efficiently, to look at more challenging cases where it's not as routine or mundane.
Like they're doing in cytology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like in cytology,
Yeah.
Yes,
they
there's
do it
already
for
an
many years
application.
already.
Yes, yes.
But I don't think you want the computer to make the final diagnosis. Not right now.
Yes.
What is your personal opinion? Do you really think that it can work on tissue? I can understand how it works
With the separate cells.
Yes.
I'm sure it will in the future, but right now.
There are some speculations that
Yeah.
this future will come very fast.
I also see the future as you have a computer and you sit at the microscope, you both look at the slide together and you can discuss with the computer about the case. And she can suggest something and then you can work together. What stain should we get? And the computer can review the literature in milliseconds. And you can sort of have like a Watson type computer and you can sort of interact with one another and try to reach a diagnosis together instead of the computer just making the diagnosis. I think that would be interesting.
So do you believe we will see AI instead, not helping, but instead of pathologists? There are a lot of speculations.
I don't think any of us have to worry.
Very delicate matter, but
I don't think any of us have to worry about it. But I'm sure in X number of years or whatever, it will happen. There's no
Yes.
question.
Yeah, I think that there will be
Yeah.
There will be specific categories where it'll all be AI doing diagnostics. But our specialty is incredibly rare tumors, where I don't foresee that replacing pathologists who have this incredible expertise. I think that the inputs required for developing those algorithms are just too great. I don't see that ever happening. Maybe in 100 years, but I don't think we can think ahead that far with any realistic predictions.
I'm also not sure that I will see it during my life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see. Peter, multidisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary teams, tumor boards, digital technologies, digital pathology, how it can improve this approach and this concept? What is your personal experience? How do you use it for collaboration inside hospitals and between distant specialists?
Well, we, unlike Jason, we have not started scanning slides for like tumor boards. We just either show a PowerPoint or use a microscope for tumor board. But obviously, be used. You could have a tumor board with specialists from all over the world looking at a case and sort of give their opinion about the diagnosis, what they think about how the patient should be treated, etc. But my experience in this is basically non-existent. We're not doing it for tumor board. I don't know, Jason, you said you were.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually just starting. We haven't implemented it yet, but I have colleagues at other major cancer centers in the United States where they're doing all the tumor boards now by whole slide scans. And they find it incredibly helpful because there's always an archived whole slide example from which they can pull for any applications. And we have so many cases that are sent in for consultation because patients are being referred from smaller institutions to a tertiary or quaternary cancer center where the initial slides did not originate at our institution. So having a way to always have access to those slides, even when they're sent back to the original hospital, is of incredible value. And I think that for tumor boards, this is it's very easy to conceive of this being a way to replace routine slides, because then you can also attend tumor boards in locations where there aren't microscopes and projection systems available. We often have that problem where we have a few places, rooms at the Dana-Farber Cancer Center where I work, where we have microscopes, but we have many others where they're not available, and we sometimes are not able to review the slides live with the multidisciplinary group. So I think digital pathology will have a huge impact on that, probably at all major cancers. It'll just take some time before that's implemented.
I agree. It's like scanning, and that's what we've been talking about. My institution is scanning outside slides.
Yes.
As I come in, just because sometimes months or years down the road, you want to know what did that tumor look like. You will be able to bring them up within seconds. And also, it's a good point that you can look at old slides. You can basically just bring them up on your computer. If you have resection, what did the biopsy look like? You can get it right away. One other application that people are using is for research. They're scanning a lot of slides, putting it on the web, and then maybe a group of people all looking at the same slides. So you don't have to send the slides around. You can all just look at them for whatever reason, whatever research you're doing. And I know that people are doing that in my institution instead of sending slides around and making multiple slides for the opinion of other pathologists.
Dmitry, and what is your experience in your department, in your hospital, maybe between hospitals?
It's difficult to add something. Many was said, but I'm still sure that it have some sense, at least. Multidisciplinary boards. Web is good platform for multidisciplinary board. the same reasons. That is the question of availability of first information, the second doctors, the third patients. Now it's very difficult to organize any multidisciplinary team because it's absolutely possible. Every person can be at different place.
In different time.
In different time, yes.
So that's what I'm asking. It's new
Web-based
opportunity.
concepts can work better in some cases than normal way. They can
For
work
sure,
way.
multidisciplinary approach didn't come with a digital. So,
Yeah.
consultations is just the basics of in medical practice for many centuries. But it gives absolutely new opportunities for cooperation and collaboration between different specialists, particularly high expertise specialists, because usually they are booked in advance for months. And to organize, just to assemble them in one room, real, like we are here, we are happy, or digital, it's a big challenge. So it gives new opportunities for this. So that's why it can
I agree,
concrete.
absolutely.
Next question, education. How do you see how it can change the infrastructure to educate and to create new pathology expertise, Jason?
As I mentioned earlier, I think we've already begun using digital pathology for education, mostly, at least in my personal experience, more at the it's more at the national level, for case review, for large numbers of registrants who don't have the opportunity to review the slides themselves. It's been very helpful for our large academic meetings for education for case review. And I think that will become much more widespread. Internally in our department, I could foresee large archives of, for example, rare tumor types, rare diagnostic categories, where the trainees could be reviewing them on their cell phone, on a laptop, from home, to aid in their education. And I think it could be a rapid way for them to gain that expertise, because slide review is the most critical part of training in diagnostic surgical pathology, and having a large library of whole slide imaging to do that makes a lot of sense. In our system of testing, in order to get board certified, we actually have a lot now of digital pathology as part of the examination for the trainees to get their boards in anatomic pathology. So we already have a digital component of those examinations.
Peter, in different countries I've heard a lot of complaints about lack of pathology expertise in general and lack of pathologists as a specialist. What do you think this new opportunity, new technology, can they change the situation?
For instance, countries where they have few or maybe no pathologists, this is an easy way of addressing that issue. Scanning the slides, putting them on the web, and you can have experts from all over the world looking at these slides. And there are places that are doing this, that they have, I know they have some contract with hospitals in other countries where they're scanning slides and they're just sitting in a room looking at a big monitor and making the diagnosis. This is absolutely the way to go for underserved areas when it comes to pathology. No question.
Dmitry, in your opinion?
Absolutely same. Totally agree. And I can add, in some situation, that is only way to improve something at that situation.
Yeah.
We have to mention one of the biggest concerns: security and safety. Any digital technology brings this scare and this concern. We know this from our daily life. What do you think? What new demand and what new problematic it bring safety and security, like digitalization to pathology?
I'm not sure it's so different from the concerns that we've had once the medical records have become electronic. I mean, we've had huge institutional EMRs, electronic medical record systems, that are often shared among institutions. For example, where Peter works at Massachusetts General Hospital and where I work at Brigham and Women's Hospital, we have the same overlying electronic medical record system. And keeping the patient information private and that the security issues involved there are an ongoing concern, and that's been a huge issue with the implementation of such systems. So I don't think that having digital pathology is so different. I think it really depends on where that information will be housed with the servers and how it'll be shared among institutions. Yeah, so it's just really how where is the information and how is it being shared, whether it's just medical records or it's digital pathology. For me, I see it as the same issue.
So you think that existing infrastructure, control infrastructure, can be applied completely to?
Yes, unless the digital imaging is copied or released more broadly. And I think that a lot of the electronic medical record systems are quite secure, and you can't easily take information from it and put it, for example, off into the web or into an email. If you have an email server on which you're housing all the whole slide imaging, it's the same concern. You just have to make sure that the computer system, the internet has to be secure. It's not so different, I think, in terms of the slides or records.
Peter? What's your opinion?
I agree. It's the same. I mean, everything is on the cloud now. I mean, all your information, and there is. I don't think you have to be concerned about that, because a lot of our medical records are already online.
We are already online.
Yeah. So if you want to really find out what the diagnosis, you can just pull out the path report. You don't have to look at the slide. So I don't think that's a concern that we should have to worry about.
I mean, the images of pathology slides require such expertise for that to be useful that the general public or even other physicians have no idea what that is. It just looks like pretty colors and weird designs. So I don't know, I'm not sure how that information could be used in ways that people would be so concerned about security until we got to an era where you could use artificial intelligence for interpretation. If that were possible, then maybe that would be a new concern.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Very interesting topic. We could discuss it for ages. And I hope that this discussion will help many specialists to understand better these problematics. Thank you very much.